So both of those things are things that we do. Like we all do those things, and we do them in response to our own traumas, very personal ones. And when something happens in our community, a challenge, firstly, a challenge, a stimulus, a stressor, right? Which could be like, I'm going to stay with COVID because it's the most recent one, but we could put 911 in there. A stressor, 911 happens, COVID happens, the floods happen. That could be a catalyst that caused, let's use 911, for the Americans to say, why would anyone want to bomb us? Have we been doing anything? Let's have a good hard look at ourselves and how our international affairs and economic policies have been for the last 4 decades. 911 could have been a process where there just like was such introspection and such a driver towards universal, like international reconciliation and peace. But what happened? They invaded, went off and it was punched and fought and kicked in a thing that didn't seem just, right? What happened with COVID is there's a lot of fragmentation that happened. What happened with the floods that have just happened recently in our communities right now in 2022 is that there's that people are physically isolated through the floods and all that sort of stuff. There's a stressor that is looking like a trauma. And instead of like 911 or COVID, the exact thing that we want to happen happens instead. It's not a fragmenting, but immediately you see this community rhizomatic web, humanity's immune system coming and everyone coming in around and trying to get in around that wound in their different ways and saying, coming along and holding those that are closest to the epicenter of that trauma, right? And so we've got, I want to now continue this language that we've got and the imagery to say, when trauma happens at a community level, at an international level, at a social level, then it's a similar dynamic, a fractal of what happens to us as individuals. And if we remember and integrate our own trauma, then we're better equipped to be able to, and it's a sort of a precursor to actually working with traumatized people and populations, is that you're engaged with recovering your own soul. Not that you've finished it, but that you're engaged in the process of integrating and doing that for yourself. So that then when you go out into the world and your stuff gets triggered by, the Nepalese earthquake or whatever someone else says, you're able to not just become a part of the problem, but you can caretake that in a way that's conscious. So perhaps is now a good time to start to bleed into the conversation about social trauma, larger scale trauma?